lots of people realize that they're kinky, but then get freaked out by all of the different labels out there and feeling like they have to pick one right away. How do you even know which label suits you best if you've never done this before? So today we are going to talk about some of those labels and how to figure out which one suits you best. Hey guys, it's Morgan with BDSM Relationships and Education. Thank you very much for checking out this video, and if you haven't done so already, please make sure you subscribe to my channel, and that way you can keep up with all of the different videos that I post every single week. I do 3 videos per week, and we usually talk about different skills within BDSM, the basics, how to figure out your label, for instance, and we also talk about other things like corsets and all kinds of fun stuff. So we have everything BDSM here. So if that's stuff you're interested in, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notifications, and that way you'll know when I post a new video. So today we are going to be talking about labels within the kink community. And we're going to sort of talk more specifically about kink specific labels. I will talk in future about different orientation labels like sexual orientation and gender orientation and things like that, and I have talked about those a little bit in the past as well, so I'll link appropriate videos up here. So kinky orientation and labels, the most important thing to remember there is that these can be very fluid. You don't have to pick one right now and then never change it, and you're stuck with it for the rest of your life. That wouldn't really work out very well for most people. A lot of us have evolved over time. Our tastes have changed. As we discover more things about kink, we refine those labels or can change them completely. So, and different labels are trendy at different times. Like right now, the whole daddy dom little girl thing is like super popular. Everybody's asking me to do videos about it. It's not really my thing, but I will be doing some videos. I just need to sort of figure out how I want to go about that, because again, it's not my thing. So I want to be able to do that subject justice. But anyways, if you had come into the BDSM scene 5 years ago, even maybe 10 years ago for sure, you never would have even heard of daddy doms and little girls. That was not a thing outside of age play circles. But now, that's all you ever hear about. So these things are trendy, and they do sort of come and go in phases. When I first started in BDSM, most people identified as either a top or a bottom, which again is the labels that we have concerning SM play, and very few people, unless they were into specific DS relationships, power exchange relationships, they wouldn't identify as doms or subs. So it was generally, most people would just be like, oh yeah, I'm a top, or oh, I'm a bottom, and not include those power exchange labels unless they were in a specific relationship at that time. So that's just one of the ways that things have evolved and changed over time. Another thing that I was just talking about the other day is that when I first started, a little more than 20 years ago, switch was a dirty, dirty word. Nobody identified as switches, and if you did, you were generally yelled at and told to pick a side or whatever. Now, I am meeting so many people who identify as switches, and for the record, I think that that's an absolutely valid orientation, and if that is yours, then go for it, because who am I to tell you to pick a side? I mean, come on, really, do what makes you happy. That's the important thing. But, again, 20 years ago, nobody identified that way. Now, lots of people do. So, the BDSM community grows and evolves over time as well. So if you are brand new to kink and none of what I just said made any sense to you, and you're like, oh my God, I don't even know what the hell you're talking about, just saying that you're not sure what your label is totally okay. Now, FetLife is kind of where a lot of us get introduced to things. I really wish it had been around when I was new, because it is a good resource. But I mean, when I was new, there really wasn't very much of the internet at all. So, that's the thing. I'm totally aging myself there, but oops. Anyways, if you are on FetLife and you're looking for a label from the little drop-down menu, which is how a lot of people discover their labels, you can choose evolving, kinkster, hedonist, exploring, vanilla, unsure or undecided, fetishist, sensualist, or not applicable. So there's lots of different ones just on FetLife that you can use. And you can certainly use those labels within the kink community as well. If you just say, hey, I'm a kinkster, like a lot of us just call ourselves kinksters. We're just people who are interested in kink. There's nothing else attached to that, just that we like kink. So that is a great label. You know, you can say that you don't know, or that you are just discovering yourself, or whatever. It really doesn't matter. Whatever you're comfortable with, and don't feel that you need to pick a label right away. Saying, I'm not sure, is a totally valid thing. Now, the other thing is that you don't have to pick just one label. So for myself, I identify as a dominant because I prefer the role of dominance within my relationships. I'm also a top because I top for play. I do the action. I am a sadist because I love to hurt people. It's so much fun. I'm also the owner of my partner. So that is something that I can identify as. I don't necessarily identify with the label mistress or master. That is not necessarily something that speaks to me, but owner does. Or at least for me, sometimes I'm also a rope top or a rigger when I'm tying. I can certainly take on the role of a mommy at times. It's not one that I really love all that much, but under certain very specific circumstances, I do enjoy it. I'm also a handler or a trainer for various pet type plays. I enjoy dog play and horse play, which is different than puppy play and pony play. And I will do a video explaining the differences there. It's very, very subtle differences, don't worry. But it's the same basic thing. So those are all labels that could be applied to me. And I'm sure there's more labels out there that could be applied to me. Like I said, I'm also a kinkster because I'm interested in kink. So lots of different labels to apply to one person. So if you find that there are multiple labels that speak to you, that's okay. You can use those. Now, my day-to-day, if people ask me what my orientation is, I usually just say dominant because that implies a bunch of that other stuff. And then, I mean, like, they don't need to know that I'm into rope and I'm into, you know, pony and horse play or any of that kind of stuff. So if I need to get into more detail, then we can get there. But if they're just in a general, like, oh, you know, I met you at a munch, how do you identify? I just say dominant because that gets enough of the information across. So a couple of things for you guys to consider when choosing your label. Are you into power exchange? Because there's a lot of people who do BDSM stuff without the power exchange. So are you into the idea of power exchange? Whether that's giving up authority within a certain context, taking authority within a certain context, whether it's 24/7 or bedroom only or some other configuration, so perhaps just on the weekends or, you know, 3 days a week or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Are you into both things? Are you into both having authority and giving it up? Because then you would just be a DS switch, right? Of course, keep in mind here, I am not talking about SM play. So I'm not talking about giving a flogging or receiving a flogging, giving a spanking, receiving a spanking. Play has nothing to do with this. It is absolutely only about authority. So keep that in mind. So if you are into power exchange, then you can look at the power exchange labels. Dominant, submissive, DS switch, master, mistress, slave, any of those types of labels that apply to power exchange relationships, you could explore those labels. Now, when we are talking about play, SM play or otherwise, whether it's sensation play or any of that kind of stuff, ask yourself, are you into giving the sensation? If you are, you're probably a top. Are you into receiving the sensation? Then you're probably a bottom. Are you into both things? Then you're a switch, and a top-bottom switch. Now, I'll just make a quick note on switches here. They can be either dominant-submissive switch or top-bottom switch, or they could be a dominant-bottom switch. So they could like to be dominant within their relationship, have the authority, but they may also like to bottom to certain activities, so have certain things done to them. They may just find that flogging feels really nice if you're on the receiving end, and so they like to do that, but they like to order their submissive to flog them and tell them exactly how it's done. So, you can switch in any way that you choose and any way that feels right to you. So, now, the other thing that I want to point out here is that you can have authority transfer relationships, power exchange relationships, without any SM play at all, without any kinky play. None of that. You can just have the power exchange in and of itself. And that is okay as well. So there's lots of different options here. So now we've kind of collected two potential labels, dominant or submissive. And obviously there's a lot of different subsets within there, and I just don't have time to get into all of the various subsets, so I'm just using those as a generalized thing. But I mean, again, we could have master slave, mommy, daddy, little girl, little boy, whatever. Pet play could be involved in there as well. Anything could be in there. But we're just going to call it dominant and submissive for now, because those are sort of the main categories. So we've got that label, we've got top and bottom. So you could choose dominant and top, you could choose submissive and bottom, you could choose dominant and bottom, submissive and top, whatever. It doesn't matter, whatever combination. Or we could just choose dominant, that's it. Or top, and that's it. If we don't want to be involved in SM play, we choose dominant only. If we don't want to be involved in power exchange, we choose top only, or vice versa for the other side. And then we can get more specific after that. So we have the idea of littles and bigs. So those are people who are into age play. So if you are a little, you're obviously age playing as, a younger age. If you are a big, then you are sort of role playing probably as your own age, but as a caregiver, either a mommy, a daddy, a babysitter, whatever. So there's also middles in there, and they usually are sort of like people who like to role play within the teenage years. And littles could be anything from people who are into, adult baby role play to, just younger child role play. Anything under there kind of falls within that little category. And if you enjoy taking care of a little, then you would fall on the big side of things, and you could be the caregiver role. So mommy, daddy, babysitter, auntie, whatever. So whatever label there feels good to you. And again, there are so many labels that I can't really go into all of them, but I'm just trying to give you a general introduction. There's also the adult baby diaper lover sort of label. So some people enjoy diapers without the age play aspect. Other people enjoy diapers with the age play aspect. So that's something that you can explore as well. I also mentioned animal role play or pet play. So if you enjoy taking on the characteristics of an animal, then you can identify as that animal. So common within the BDSM world would be, puppies and kitties and ponies and horses and dogs and cats. But also there's the whole world of furries, many of whom are not even kinky at all, but there is some overlap. There are a lot of kinky furries, so they can identify as any animal. And you don't have to be limited to just what I'm suggesting here. You do you. Pick whatever you want. Just trying to give a general idea. And if you enjoy training those animals, so if you're somebody like me that enjoys, teaching my partner how to do something within that world of animals, then you could be a trainer or a handler. So that is an option for you. There are people who are primarily into rope. They aren't necessarily interested in some of the other SM activities or DS activities. They just want to play with rope. They love bondage. And that's totally cool. So they could be a rigger or a rope top. They could be a rope bottom or a bunny. I think that the term bunny is now falling out of favor simply because it does seem to be almost derogatory or gendered. I don't have a problem with it myself, but those are some of the arguments that I've heard about moving away from the idea of bunny. I've also heard rope bottoms referred to as models. So you can, and not necessarily ones that are doing it for photography or whatever, but just as a model for a demo or for play or for whatever. So if you like getting tied up, then you have the rigger rope top area. If you like being tied, did I just say if you like being tied up, you're a rigger? If you like tying people up, you would fall into the rigger rope top area. If you like getting tied up, then you would be rope bottom, bunny, model, whatever label there works for you. If you like both, well, then again, you get to be a switch, because switch can apply to pretty much any category. And just for the record, switches can also apply to pet play, switches can apply to age play, anything. Anybody could be a switch. And you can switch in any realm of BDSM. It's all good. Just have fun on all the sides. I mean, I don't blame you. It's not my cup of tea, but I understand the appeal. Do you like... And finally, because I just can't go through all of the options here, but if you like animalistic play, but not animal role play, I know that can be a little confusing. But if you like sort of rough sex and rough play, takedown play, that sort of stuff, then you may be a primal. So primals, and this is a relatively new label. Probably I've seen it more within the last 5 years, but it was around a little bit before then as well. But it's a fairly new label, and it's for people who really enjoy that rough, animalistic, takedown type play, rough play. And on that side of things, you can have the predator, who would be the aggressor in this situation. And then you would have prey, which would be the one who is on the receiving end of it, but often fights back. This type of prey is not just going to sit there and allow this stuff to happen. They're going to fight against you. So if you enjoy that type of thing, then the primal label may work for you. So finally, I do want to just quickly touch on fetishes, because there's a lot of people who are fetishists that aren't into any of the other stuff. They're not into BDSM at all, but they have fetishes, sexual fetishes that they like to indulge in. So that could be a foot fetish, a latex fetish, a fetish for long fingernails, could be anything. So if you are a fetishist, you can also be interested in all this other stuff and have your fetish, or you could simply be a fetishist and not want anything to do with all that other stuff. So that is a thing. Often we see foot fetishes combined with the idea of female dominance, and they come together quite nicely, and then you can throw in some humiliation or worship play, that kind of stuff. That's totally acceptable. Or some people just like feet, and they don't want anything to do with the rest of this BDSM stuff. They just like some feet. So, or latex, or whatever else they may be fetishizing. So that is something to keep in mind as well. And again, there are so many different options out there. If I've missed yours, I apologize, but the video is getting long, and there's just too much for me to put into one little video. But I did want to kind of touch on that, on how to choose a label. Just sit down and think about the things that you're into, learn a bit about it, and then you can find labels based on that. And if you have a big long list of labels, like I do, that is okay. You may want to just choose the one that sort of encompasses everything as best as possible and use that for casual conversations. And then you can get into those more specific labels as you need them, as you are developing a relationship or examining whether this is a suitable partner for you or that kind of stuff. So anyways, guys, I'm going to leave it there because I could just babble on for another hour about this kind of stuff. There's so much to cover, but I will probably be doing multiple videos about this in the future, so don't worry, we'll get to all of it. If you have questions or anything like that, leave those for me in the comments, and I will try to answer them as quickly as I can. Anyways, guys, don't forget to subscribe, like the video if you enjoyed this video, if it was helpful to you, or anything like that, and don't forget to, I don't know, I was going to say don't forget to subscribe, but I'm pretty sure I already said that. So why don't I just leave it here, and I'm going to turn off these damn hot lights because apparently they're getting to my brain. Anyways, guys, I'll see you in the next video. Bye.